Hey guys, what's up and welcome to IGCSE Success. I'm acutely aware that the next round of exams are just around the corner, so I thought I would find some time to jump on really quickly and film this video. And it's quite important because it's looking at question 3 from paper 1, the extended writing response, and we all know how difficult question 3 can be. There's so much skill. There's so much that is needed to answer question 3 successfully. And what I'm going to be looking at specifically today is developing your ideas and making suitable inferences. And from my 9+ 10 years experience, this is what students struggle with. They can explore explicit ideas, but when it comes to those more subtle or hidden or implicit ideas, students tend to struggle. So with all that said, let's get the video started. What I thought would be sensible, I know there's a lot of text that has just been presented to you, but I just want to give a quick rundown of question 3. And hopefully by the end, you'll see why it is quite difficult. So it's really the only non-fiction writing task on the paper. You are usually given a narrative, which is text C. You often need to assume a role. Voice and tone are so important. And obviously, voice and tone is created through the vocab that you use, the stylistic choices, structural choices, etc. It's 250 to 350 words. Please do not obsess over the word count. I have, believe it or not, I've seen students of mine sort of count the words. You are not going to get penalized. You can get full marks writing 250. You can get full marks writing 500 words. The important thing really is to manage your time well. I think, personally, you need 40 to 45 minutes to do this question well, and that includes reading the text, highlighting, annotating, and planning. Number 6, you have to plan. You have to know your journey or your route to that end goal, which is the non-fiction piece. If you don't plan, chances are it's going to be a little bit messy, a little bit haphazard. Number 7, 15 marks for reading, 10 marks for writing. So yes, predominantly it is assessing your reading skills. However, writing skills are important. Vocab, sentence structure, the kind of things that your teacher has no doubt been teaching you throughout your GCSE years. Number 8, the prescribed text types you need to be able to write are letters, informal and formal, speeches, magazine articles, journal, formal report, newspaper report, and interview. Interview is a slightly odd one, but it often comes up having to write dialogue. Number 9, you have to identify the text type. That's easy. It's right at the top. You have to write a letter. You have to write a formal report. You have to consider the audience and purpose really carefully, because this will influence your style, your language, and any kind of stylistic features that you use. Say, for example, your audience is geared towards students, for example. Your writing would need to reflect that. So maybe you might adopt a more informal style or informal register compared to if you were giving a speech to your headmaster, for example. Number 10, reread the text and find ideas linking to each bullet point. You have to highlight, you have to make quick annotations. And again, this is quite a difficult skill in itself. 11, bullet points 1 and 2 are generally easier. Usually you can find explicit ideas. What I mean by that is that you can sort of highlight ideas that link to those bullet points. Bullet point 3, however, usually requires you to consider the whole text. So you might not be able to highlight 5 things, but you need to consider everything that's happened, how the characters are feeling. It requires you to infer, it requires you to explore those hidden or subtle meanings. Number 13, you use ideas from the text, of course, to construct your response. You need to demonstrate that you've read the text carefully. Do not make stuff up. You don't make stuff up. You develop your ideas suitably, or you make suitable inferences. And the easiest way to do this often is to think about the character's thoughts and feelings throughout. Now, sometimes I've looked at some question 3s, and there's often 2 strands, and the second strand does include the thoughts and feelings of the character. However, if it doesn't say thoughts and feelings, you should still include some exploration of the character's thoughts and feelings. That's kind of showing your implicit understanding of the ideas presented to you. Number 15, now paragraphs should be similar in length. Perhaps the exception is maybe formal report if you want to do slightly shorter paragraphs and you want to use subheadings, newspaper report as well. But all the other text types, really, you should end up maybe with a short introduction to establish a sense of audience and purpose, and then 3 equal sized paragraphs. And I cannot stress this enough, you have to proofread. Cambridge say this every single year in the examiner report. It's quite clear students who proofread. It's quite clear students who proofread and add extra information at the end. Cambridge want to see that you have looked at your work, you've reflected on your work, and you've made changes at the end. Now, what you're seeing now comes from the mark scheme, and it's really important that you are familiar with the mark scheme. And I'm just going to focus on the reading marks, because really the focus of this video is to demonstrate how to develop ideas suitably. So let's look at what you need to do to get band 5 or level 5, so 13 to 15 marks. So your response reveals a thorough evaluation and analysis of the text. Developed ideas are sustained and well related to the text. A wide range of ideas is applied. There is support and detail throughout, which is well integrated into the response, contributing to a strong sense of purpose and approach. All 3 bullets are well covered, and a consistent and convincing voice is used. Now, I've tried to simplify that on the right. So let's take a read of the 5 things that I've simplified. Number 1, are you able to show evidence that you have read the text closely, exploring both explicit and implicit ideas? Are you able to unpick, probe the text, and identify more subtle ideas? Are you able to develop your ideas, both explicit and implicit ideas? Are your inferences based on what you have read? I've put number 2 in red because that's really what I'm going to be focusing on. On the next slide, it's coming. Number 3, are you able to include a range of ideas and present these in your own words where appropriate? Number 4, are you able to cover all 3 bullet points, ensuring that you have a range of ideas in each? And number 5, are you able to assume a character successfully? You know that thing that I was saying before about proofreading your work, using a suitable voice throughout. Okay, so what you are looking at now is just a paragraph from a narrative I wrote for my students some months back. I often like to do this because it's not as, I guess, scary compared to presenting them with a full text. See, quite often we sort of integrate creative writing into my lessons, and then I get students to either do a kind of writer's effect based on what they've written, or some sort of extended writing response. So this task is completely fictitious. I've made it up, but the important thing is, do you understand the process of identifying those ideas and, more importantly, developing them, making inferences? So my made up task is, imagine you are a student, read the below extract and write a journal entry describing your thoughts and feelings and what you experienced getting on the school bus. And let's read, this comes from a longer narrative, by the way. I may have done a YouTube video on it already, but let's take a read. The yellow school bus swiftly arrived, honking its horn. Wow, good going, Mum. My school bag matches the school bus, Nothing like trying to fit in on the first day of a new school, I sighed. Plastered over the side of the bus was Hillstone Valley School, where dreams come true. Yeah, right, I thought to myself. The door soon flew open, beckoning me. I desperately wanted to move to my old school. I even said to Mum that I would behave in French class, and I honestly was a terror in that class. But it was futile. I was here for good. I reluctantly got on the school bus and was greeted by a sea of faces. Then, silence. I grabbed the straps of my backpack and gulped. Faint whispers filled the bus. I was the new kid, and my yellow backpack didn't help matters. So hopefully you can tell this student is about to start his new school or her new school. Feeling pretty anxious, not having the best morning, that's for sure. What I've done already, I've highlighted the 5 ideas that I am going to use. The paragraph's quite straightforward. I've just pulled out 5 explicit ideas, and I'm now going to show you how to turn those ideas into a journal and how to develop them. What a crazy day. And when I say crazy, I mean it. Honestly, why did Mum force me to move to this hellhole? If only I was exaggerating, but I'm not. In fact, hell would no doubt be a much nicer place. Where do I even begin? Unfortunately, the bus did show up on time, honking its deafening horn. I tried to think on my feet, to find an excuse, a reason, anything so that I didn't have to get on the bus. Useless. My mum was one proud mum. She even thought it would be a good idea to get me this garish backpack. Yellow. Yellow of all colours. It didn't eat my crippling nerves at all. No one wants to stand out like a sore thumb, especially when you are starting a new school. In the end, I trickled out of the door and approached the bus. Thoughts of my old school came flooding back instantly. I missed it so much and longed to be back. This was not what I wanted. Who would want this? I was perfectly happy. My old school was my security blanket, and I definitely wasn't ready for change. I somehow mustered up the courage to get on the school bus. It was a very unpleasant experience, as expected. I had been catapulted into an unfamiliar world, and I had what felt like thousands of strangers looking at me, judging me with their hawk-like eyes. It was like I was an alien invading their private world. I wasn't welcome. The quiet disapproving mumbles confirmed this. So hopefully you will agree this has been written in the style of a journal. There's lots of sort of thoughts and feelings, emotive language. There's a real sense of purpose and audience. In the red is kind of like an introduction or a few lines to establish a sense of voice and purpose and audience. And I always say to my students, before tackling those 3 bullet points, spend maybe a couple of minutes writing a couple of sentences to show Cambridge that you know the features of whatever text type you have been given, and just to establish a sense of purpose and voice and character straight away. Now, everything I have put in bold are really my explicit ideas. So take the first one, for example. Well, unfortunately, the bus did show up on time, honking its deafening horn. Now, of course, that links to the quotation highlighted in yellow. The yellow school bus swiftly arrived, honking its horn. And the underlined text is, I guess, my inference or development. So I've put, I tried to think on my feet, to find an excuse, a reason, anything so that I didn't have to get on the bus. Useless. My mum was one proud mum. And of course, this development stems from how the character is feeling from the text. And the other explicit ideas I've explored or mentioned, she even thought it was a good idea to get me this garish backpack. Yellow. And then I've developed it with the character's thoughts and feelings. Yellow of all colours, it didn't ease my crippling nerves at all. No one wants to stand out like a sore thumb, especially when you are starting a new school. And the next idea, I missed it so much and I longed to be back. The next one, somehow I mustered up the courage to get on the school bus. And the last, to thousands of strangers looking at me, and the quiet, disapproving mumbles confirm this. If you study this example and kind of match up the quotations to the text in the board and look at how I've developed my ideas, fingers crossed you'll understand the process that you need to go through in order to answer question 3 successfully. I hope this video has been useful. Let me know in the comments if it makes sense. I'm always open to feedback and criticism. I change my approach to FLE almost every single year, and I'm always interested to hear about how other teachers approach the questions as well. I will see you again very soon, and stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and of course, good luck if your exams are looming just around the corner. I know they are. Keep studying, and I'm always here if you have any questions. Until next time, bye-bye.